my big sis,
Yes.
Stashay Smith. She is the creator of Creative Juices Network.
Yes.
And she is a wife. She is a mother. She is an author. And we're going to talk about some heavy hitting stuff.
Yes.
But first, let's talk about how you and I met.
Yes.
We met in a prayer room.
We met in a prayer room.
I think that's the most divine way you can meet someone.
I mean, it was totally divine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally divine.
And I feel like our relationship has been totally divine since.
Yes.
You know, like we can have fun, but we can also learn from each other, you know, and you're a little bit older than me, but I feel like we relate on so many different levels, and it's just been a blessing.
Yes.
Like to have you a part of my tribe and to be a part of yours as well.
Yes, it's been amazing. I love my Courtney.
I love you.
Like we met, and it's a sisterhood.
Yeah.
Like we've had conversations, and we've cried, and we've gone through things, but we've grown. Mm-hmm. Like when I think about when we met in the prayer room to where we are now, just the journey God has taken us on. It's just been amazing.
Amazing. I think about Ruth and Naomi.
Yeah.
And
that part.
God.
Don't play.
I literally read that book 4 times in college.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the friendships that God has blessed me with, I think about how committed Naomi and Ruth were to each other. And, you know, with Ruth, you know, saying, I'm going to go wherever you go, you know, and Naomi being like, okay, you know, like.
And just the fact that she, you know, because sometimes people think sisterhood is about the fun. It's about the, you know, the shiny things and the glittery, glamour, but it's about those trenches, right? The prayer, you know, the calling each other, holding each other accountable, having difficult conversations and praying each other through things. Mm-hmm. That's what the Naomi Ruth story is too, right? She didn't come in her life when everything was good. She came in her life when she needed her. So, yes.
Talking about needing, you know, I believe every woman needs a mother.
Yes.
You know, and I think that we've all been through personal journeys with our own mothers, you know. Talk to me about your relationship with your mother. You don't have to go into detail, but, you know, what have you learned from that relationship that you want to share with others?
Yes, that is so powerful. When I think about like my mother experience, my mother was young. My parents were young when they had us. And I think a lot of people experience like growing up with their parents, right? And parenting does not come with a manual, right? It's not something where it's like, I know how to do this, this, and this. And coming from generations where we didn't necessarily have the equipping to do and to be the parents that, you know, our kids necessarily needed. So when I think about the mother experience, it's not about like the blame of you didn't do this, that, and the other, but how can we look at our mother experience and say, this is what I experienced, and this is the challenge in, you know, my life experience because of it. And my relationship with my mom now, we have conversations, we talk, you know, I feel like that generation has, you know, not equipped as much to do the healing, right? Because when I look at like my generation and of course your generation, the millennials, they're like, heal, give me all the healing things, right? I want to do the work. I want to have the healthy relationships. I really want to walk this journey. And my generation as well, you know, looking at maybe some of the mistakes we made, you know, in our 20s and 30s, but really equipping ourselves to move forward in a way where my mom's generation, I don't necessarily think that they have gotten there, but we want them to. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm forgiving of the things that I experienced in my youth and in my childhood, but also looking for ways to, you know, open up to more healing, more conversations, more communication to get to a place where we can actually talk about the things. So we're getting there.
Yes. And
we're
I
getting there.
Agree with you.
Yes.
Like my mom, she always says, let sleeping dogs lie.
Yes.
You know, and I think with our generation, we're like, no, wake up, because it's time to do some healing so that we can stop those things right here, right
Right
now,
now.
so that the children after us and our families and our generations, they don't have to deal with some of the things that we dealt with, or our past mother and grandmother and great grandmothers and even fathers and things like that
Yes.
had to deal with.
Yes.
So, with that being said, what are some of the tools that really helped you in healing your relationship with your mother?
That's a great question. So, as a personal discovery coach, how I got to the place to even do the work was really, I got sick and tired of myself, right? There were just certain things that I was repeating in the cycle of like self sabotage and rejection and putting myself in situations where I could have been highly successful and move forward in some things, and in relationships and just all the things. And it was like, okay, I need to step back. And I think for me, it was during COVID, because COVID gave everybody the opportunity to kind of, do some self reflection and evaluation. And for me, it was like, okay, I had done therapy. I had started the work and doing the things, but it was like there's always another level of healing, right? To get to a place where you're really walking in your full abundance. And I wanted to walk in the fullness of everything that God promised and everything that He had called me to do to impact and inspire others, which means I had to go back and do the work. And for me, that work was really healing the mother womb.
Yeah. I believe that like relationships with our parents affect every other relationship that in our lives. Like,
Yes.
our relationships with women
Yes.
are affected by the relationship that we have with our mother if we have not healed.
Absolutely.
If you know that you don't have a good relationship with your mother, or it may be fractured, that's where you kind of run into the issues with other women, because that most important relationship in your life is mirrored
Yes,
through other
it
relationships.
is.
What was the biggest challenge for you that you faced going through your healing journey?
The biggest challenge was, how is my mother going to respond to this? Right? Because I knew that in my healing journey that I not only had to do the healing, but then I had to write the book, right? I had to write the journal on it, which is Dear Mama, Healing the Mother Wound. And I sat on this for a year because it was like, what is my mother going to think? Because unfortunately, let's just keep it real. In the Black community, it's like, that's your mama, right? What goes on in this house stays in this house, right? We don't have that same openness of really being able, because of just, right, those generational, curses and traumas. So for me, it was like, I want to do my work, but how is she going to react to me, to what comes out of the work, what comes out of the healing journey? And for me, it was, this.
Did you
this
have
book.
an advocate like facing those things with your mom? Like, did you have an aunt, a grandmother who was like, I'm going to mediate and help you? Because sometimes, let's be honest, like, I'm not a parent yet, but I can understand that they would probably say, I'm not perfect, but I did the best that I could. So are you going to blame that on me because I did the best that I could despite not being perfect?
Exactly.
But then you sometimes have someone in the family that can say, I see your point and I see your point. Did you have an advocate?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. But I will say that I did have an advocate in my relationship with Christ and with the Holy Spirit, just being able to help me navigate this. I will say that my therapist, she was amazing in helping me to walk this journey. So I won't say she was an advocate where she helped me navigate my mother-daughter relationship, but she really helped me to identify where I needed to work and how, and to really walk the journey. But I will say that I have become that advocate as I present my first cohort of women who will walk this journey together. So I'm excited. That's something. It's so funny you asked me that, Courtney, because it's like I didn't have the advocacy part, but now I can be an advocate and help other women not only take this journey but do it in community.
What do you feel people who join will gain out of attending this event?
I would say the main thing is like we have the ability to do healing individually, right? But there's something really powerful about community healing, really being in a group of people who make you feel like, okay, I am not by myself. I'm not going through this alone. And it just takes that healing experience to another level because you feel like, okay, I have somebody else that I can do this with and we can do this together. Because, that's the one thing that I want to point out in the healing journey. It's not about just healing for you. Healing is a flow, right? When you think about water, it's like you do the work, it extends out to everyone around you. You're the spring and it just flows.
I like that.
Yes, flows.
Yes.
That's our new thing.
Because it's important because like when you're healed, then other people can experience your healing. Then that is a ripple effect. I know that in this season, God has been working with me on giving grace, because it's like, Court, I give you grace, give other people grace. Because sometimes we want to be frustrated, like, oh my goodness, God, why is this not happening for me? Or why is this happening to me? And sometimes we have to just step out and say, okay, they may have a lot of other things going on or being channeled in their life. So extend grace so that grace can be given back to you. And I think that when you do that, they're able to then extend grace to other people. I think what we don't realize is the bigger picture is it's not about us all the time.
At all.
Some things are deeper than us, and sometimes deliverance is connected to us. So, and what I mean by that is like, if you are giving forgiveness, then others can give forgiveness, and then other people can, it just keeps flowing. Like you said, it just keeps
going. And giving grace to know that everybody's not at the same place as you. Right? Everybody, not everyone is ready to face certain things, right, at certain times. So giving people not only grace but time. Because it's like, that's the one thing about healing. You feeling good, right? You like, oh, I want to come on, y'all. And they're like, I'm not ready.
You're like, what you mean you're not ready?
Come on, let's do this. So it's just.
And what I've learned about that is like even having conversations with like certain people or certain family members, their truth can differ from your truth. Like your experience, you're like, no, this really happened. They're like, no, that did not happen. You're like, it did happen. Like I literally went through this. And you literally was right there signing on the dotted line. Like this is really what happened. And I think it's just, woo. That I'm sorry. That took me back to an instance where I'm just like, that is not the truth.
Exactly.
But how do you deal with a person who's not ready to face your truth?
You have to it's the grace thing.
It's the grace thing.
It's the grace thing. And it's still owning your experience. Right. We still have to own our personal experience, but own the truth of that experience, but also taking in consideration that, they may have some truth in their experience too.
That you may not know about.
You may not know. I was listening to a YouTube a couple weeks ago, and the one thing he said is everybody experiences a person differently. I may experience a person one way, and another person like, well, they did this, and like, well, they was cool with me. I
had no problem with them.
Right. So just really being able to still own your experience despite the perspective of somebody else, but also understanding that their perspective may be different than yours, right? Like you see, I got glasses on.
Right.
If I take these off, I'm going to see totally different. So a lot of times, people, even though their truth and their experience, that's why you have to own your experience, because they may still be operating from an unhealed place that's not allowing them to see it. So
how do you take off the spirit of offense, though? You know how like, because I remember watching a video that you posted on TikTok. And I was just like, Lord, remove the spirit of offense, because we're human. Like I was reading the book called The 4 Agreements. And he says in one chapter, don't take things personal. And I'm like, that's a hard thing to not do. Like,
Yes.
we're all human and we all have emotions, but how do you operate in a spirit of, I will not take offense to something that may be offensive to you?
I think it's that same part of understanding another person's perspective, but then putting in yourself in a place of forgiveness. I had a lady tell me, she was like, Stashay, your teaching ministry will be great, but forgive often. And I really didn't understand it at the time. Like, why is she telling me this? But she was telling me that because we have to forgive people often, because a lot of people come from places that are unhealed, right? They're dealing with their own personal issues, traumas. So they may be projecting on you, and you like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm feeling some type of way and take it personal, but not realizing that it ain't even really about you. You know, a lot of times it's not personal. They don't mean to come off in a way where it's about you. It's just their place.
That's where they are.
So, and even if what they said was absolutely offensive, even if what they do, because people do some stuff. Every day we walking in this world, like, I mean, we could live in offense.
Yeah, we could.
24 hours a day.
But what does that do to you? That creates bitterness, and bitterness changes your physical health.
We ain't even gonna talk about the physical, ramifications from bitterness and unforgiveness. That's a whole nother
I know God is in me because, I work with, just a transparent moment, I work with difficult people. I work in the news industry, and those people, they can really be downright nasty. I mean, from putting their hand in your face to screaming at you to just all kind of things. And I know God is in me because I still pray for the very people that get on my nerves. I still say hello to those who I'm like, I really don't care for you, but because I don't know your situation outside of work, hi, how you doing? You know what I mean? Like, and just keeping it moving. That's how you know God is working on you. That is really how you know.
And checking ourselves. Right? Because there are times when you feel it. You're like, oh, I'm getting offended. And getting it and nipping it before it becomes bitterness. Because people hold on to stuff, right?
You'd be like, that happened 5 years ago.
Why is she still talking about that? But you can tell, like, just in their demeanor and how they express themselves, like, this is eating you up. So we have to tap in and be like, hold on. I am feeling offended. Lord, I forgive. Remove it and let it go. Because that thing can grab you and it'll start and it'll grow.
You be like, what is wrong with Miss Betty?
And then you see that person and you be like, and the Lord like, you ain't forgive. You still holding that.
That's the thing though. Like, forgiveness is not just one time, like, I forgive. It's a daily practice, because the enemy what he'll do is he'll be like, remember that time? And you be like, I let them go.
Let it go.
And in this season of my life, I've started saying, I'm no longer going to hold the people who offended me hostage. They are free. I literally was like, Lord, I'm opening up the jail cell and I'm letting them go.
So powerful.
They can go. And saying that in multiple prayers, not just once, but just saying, God, they can go. Even if I don't have a choice to deal with them or not. Meaning parents, cousins, aunties, uncles, whoever has offended me, it's saying, I am no longer going to allow that to affect me. But I also want to say, and you can agree or disagree with this, even if they are people that we don't have a choice in who they are in our lives, we can still set boundaries to say, I can either love you up close or love you from a distance. What do you think about that?
That's so true. But then also understanding what that looks like, right? Because you may have to distance yourself from certain people for a certain amount of time. And unfortunately, some people forever. right? Relationships sometimes have to, they're for a
Redefining
season, and you have to
that, yeah.
redefine it or let it go, right? And being real about that, because sometimes, we want to hold on to things, and we want to hold on to people, and we want to hold on to just stuff because it's comfortable,
Yeah.
right? And it feels, normal, and it feels like, okay, this is something that I'm used to, but is it healthy for you? And that's where that, when you talk about healing, the healing journey is really important in understanding, like, is this healthy for me? That is a question I ask myself a lot. Yeah. Is this relationship healthy for me? Is this experience? Is this partnership, right? Is this environment, right? Is this going to lead me to a place where I'm continuing to walk in my healing? Or is it going to cause me to step out of that?
I think sometimes we don't even think about it until they like, ooh, they drained me. Like,
they drained me today. They drained me today, right? Like, Lord.
So talk to me about some of the tools in Dear Mama.
Yes. So Dear Mama, Healing the Mother Wound. This is a journal. For those who, don't know, my personal brand is personal discovery through journaling. So I've been able to really tap into the healing journey of really not only identifying like my experience and what my call is to the world based on the things that I've experienced. So I help women walk through that. And this journal, Dear Mama, is just that for the mother wound. It really helps women to understand, an impact through keywords, through affirmations, through writing, to really having those difficult, internal experiences of how do I really feel about my mother experience? Yeah. What are the ways that it's impacted my life? And how can I start to dig deep enough to bring that forward and then move forward in my journey? So this is written in a way where you can do that. And as you see, there's a letter on the front, because at the end of this, it's like this journal is really written to as the letter you wanted to write to your mother that you never had the chance to. So it's like getting to the end of this, you can literally take the information, put it in an envelope, and say, this is the letter that I wanted to write. So, Dear Mama.
Do you think because of you publishing your book and your journal, do you think that it's improved your relationship with your mother, or do you think that it's just kind of at a very standard level, like it's not
That's a great
any
question.
way or the other?
I think that it's improved to where I can now identify and forgive my mother and move forward. Right. But there's still work to do, because in the healing journey, you have to be willing to take the journey. Yeah. And just to be real, like my mom's generation, they're not the most willing and receptive to want to do that, because it's just like, trauma, what is that? Just let it go.
Yep. Just move on.
Just move on. We good.
Now, just as women can have mother wounds, men can too. And you
Absolutely.
have a son.
Yes.
How do you feel that your work has helped your relationship with your son? Not saying it's bad or anything, but how do you feel it's helped you to communicate with him and just have a relationship with him?
That's a great question. It's really put me in a position to, be there for both of my children, and even my bonus children, as we grow, because we heal so that we can be better for them.
Yeah.
And really dealing, like for me, having a blended family, it's like, you have children at different stages in your life when you're a different person. Yeah. So, there are things, it's like, the things I do with my daughter now, having had her in my 30s versus who I was when I had my son in my 20s, it's a different mother experience.
Person, yeah.
But yet still being supportive of, and because I felt like in my mom's generation, they didn't give us a voice, right? They didn't really want us to express. It's like, this is what you do what I tell you to do. This is what we did. But
I agree.
I want my children to have allowed even my son to be able to be exactly who he is. Even if that for me makes me feel like, oh, son, I want you to, do more, talk more, be around. It's like letting him be his individual self and to grow into, who God has created him to be. and also with my daughter, but then also accepting, that I was a single mom for, 8 years, and being able to own responsibility for the things that, I could have done better as a mother.
Yeah.
And we have to accept that.
Yeah.
We can think all day that we've done, the best that we can do, but our children and their
and the children have to
experience,
be in a place to
and you
receive
have to
things
be,
as well. Like
and you
and
have to be open to the,
Yep.
you can't just tell them no,
Yeah.
no. Got to be
Yeah.
open. That's healing, right? Healing isn't always, it don't always feel good.
Yeah. And for parents who, when the role is reversed, for parents who are healing and their children are not there,
Yeah.
it has to be that mutual respect. Like, I don't want to touch that, because there are some adult children who are like, I'm not ready to
Yes.
venture. And I have a friend who says, like healing with his father, he has had to take time to say, I don't want to touch on that today.
Yes.
And that's his boundary.
That's his boundary. Yeah.
And I think healing goes both ways sometimes. It's not, especially if you're doing it with other people, they have to be in a space where they can receive certain things, and maybe piling everything on at one time is just not the way to go.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, hold on now.
Hold on a minute.
So you created a journal for younger girls too.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so Created to Be Me, this is, I wrote this journal, and I'm actually going to be rebranding this soon for adults, because I have adults asking me for it, because they're like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So this is a guided discovery of personal discovery of, like, who am I? And it's based on 8 core keys, because, Creative Juice Network is create, the number 8. Juice Network, because it's based off of 8 key cores, which are: I believe, I think, I see, I overcome, I express, I am, I win, I dream. So really being able to identify, like, what do you believe, right? How do you express who you are? And again, journaling is from the inside out. So it's like, by the end of this journal, there's a personal mission statement that the person has to write, because, like, who are you and how do you present that to the world? Because we can't present to the world who we think we are. We have to present to the world who God created us to be. And that is a issue that, within this whole social media culture, people want to present who they think they should be based on what the world says, what the trends are, right? I want to be a content creator, like all these things. And it's like, is that who God created you to be? So it's really understanding, like, what are those key fundamental things on the inside? Like, what do you dream about? What do you want to express? What do you believe? What do you think? Right? All of those things, and then getting to a place of I am. This is who I am.
Knowing who you
are.
And knowing who you belong to.
And that's because you can't discover who you are outside of God.
Yeah. That's so true.
Because He's the creator.
He's the painter.
He's the painter.
Beautiful painter.
And He painted each one of us, right? Yeah. He painted each one of us as a masterpiece.
Before we end this, bless them with something.
Yes. The thing that I would say to end this is to really walk in your healing. Get in a place where you can start to heal. Because when I say that, taking on that journey during COVID, talking to my therapist, when I got tired, where it has taken me from there to here is just, I can't even explain what God has done. And I would leave those who are listening with, I would do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work. It is worth it. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, you will have to deal with things and face things that, you've experienced. Yes, you're going to have to forgive. Yes, you're going to have to release the bitterness. Yes, you're going to have to get in a place of not walking in offense.
Yeah.
But what it's worth is really being able to open yourself up to the abundance and blessings that God has for you. Because God can't pour, that abundance into an unhealed place. Because then what it'll be used for will be tainted, and it will come from a broken and wounded place. So do the work. Do the work. It's worth it. And you are worth it.
That's powerful.
Yes.
I will put Stasha's social media, how you can get her books, into the description below. Thank you for watching Conversations with Courtney. Sis, I love you.
Love you too.